Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, and as we begin a 5-part series entitled Looking at Today Through the Eyes of Yesterday, we're going to look very directly at how the days of the present are impacted by the days of the past. So today we will simply define yesterday. Secondly, we will look at the scares and the joys of yesterday. Then we will study today and yesterday as they meet together. Fourth, we will look at yesterday and how it could potentially control today. And then finally, part 5, we will study how to allow today to simply be today. So for right now, let's use a definition, or let's try to devise a definition that we will use throughout the study about today. Pope Gregory XIII devised in 1582 the Gregorian calendar. Pope Gregory XIII lived from 1502 until 1585. So the calendar that he devises is going to really come into full effect, really the last 3 years of his life. By the time Pope Gregory XIII ordered the Gregorian calendar, about 10 days had drifted from the day of what we call the Julian calendar that began around 45 BC. What people kept saying is that the time of the Julian calendar was off. But no one really listened to that until Pope Gregory XIII. And he took it very seriously. The Gregorian calendar wasn't really fully adopted across the whole Europe until well into the 18th century. But I want you to get a feel for yesterday. Now, with the Pope Gregory, the Gregorian calendar, and the 18th century, and the Julian calendar, those are the methods by which we track today and yesterday. Yesterday, according to most English dictionaries, is simply defined as the day before the present day. Time past, which can be divided into certain categories such as time past with pleasure and time past with pain. And also I've added a third category, time past filled with void memories, things that we simply can't recall for whatever the reason. But I want you to get implanted in your mind a definition of yesterday. And according to most dictionaries, it simply means the day before the present day. Time past, which is divided into categories. Times past with pleasure, times past with pain, and time past with I just can't remember my yesterdays. Let's divide the yesterdays into 2 additional segments. We can talk about yesterday in terms of time or length, as it is measured in 2 manners rather than the one traditional way. We can talk about the chronological time of yesterday, which utilizes what we call the clock. It has 24 hours in a day cycle. From midnight to midnight, the clock communicates to everyone the same amount of hours, the same amount of minutes, and the same amount of seconds. So often, people will only measure their yesterdays in terms of the chronological time. It was a long day. My day started early, my day lasted long. Most people are referring to the chronological day, but there's also a second way to measure the yesterdays, and that is to look at the psychological yesterday. The 24-hour window chronologically is not just the ticking of the clock. Each 24-hour window of yesterday also triggered the yesterday of the psychological imprinting from yesterday. From the time of the Caesar, the Julian calendar, or the time of the Gregorian yesterdays, all of the yesterdays before, all of the weeks, all of the months, or all of the years are filled with transactions that are imprinted psychologically into the mind of people. The transactions and the clock time are truly what defines our yesterdays. So when we look at the 24-hour day, that is yesterday. But when we look at the psychological transactions that took place in the day gone by, those are likewise our yesterdays. And so often in dealing with our today, we ignore the transactions of yesterday. We simply say, thank goodness yesterday is gone. Another day, another opportunity. And all of that is indeed factual. But our todays, many times, are going to be driven by how we navigate the transactions of our yesterdays. In the book of Psalms, chapter 90, Psalms 90, verses 4, 5, and 6, the psalmist put it this way: For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night, just a shift. Thou carriest them away as with a flood. They are as sleep. In the morning they are like grass, which groweth up. In the morning it flourisheth and groweth up, and in the evening it is cut down and withered. That's Psalms 90, verses 4 through 6. But in the world of most people, they cannot navigate their today by completely putting away their yesterdays. And yet the psalmist says, 1,000 years in thy sight, in the sight of God. No matter what the transactions have been, no matter how far back you are able to count the transactions, no matter how far back you are able to recall the transactions, 1,000 years, 50 years, 60 years, whatever your tenure in life may be, the psalmist says, but it is as yesterday when it is today. And it's simply as a moment or a watch in the night. God is able to carry them away as a flood. They are as sleep. Every day we wake up and we live in our today, but it's our yesterday definition that dictates our today action. So what we will do throughout this lesson series is process yesterday. We will process it from a chronological, a calendar look, but we will also process it from a psychological look in terms of the events, the transactions of the day. I'll see you back in class again tomorrow. Don't be late and don't skip class.